Great. Okay. Welcome, everyone. And welcome to Emily, Ms. Carr. Welcome and thank you for your emails regarding actions the community and council could take about racism, discrimination in Haywards Heath. The way I want to run this element of the meeting is for you, Ms. Carr, Emily, to make your presentation over the next few minutes. And then I will then give a response to your points, and hopefully we'll have a few minutes for a question and comments. We will then move to the remainder of the meeting, okay? If that's okay with everyone. So Emily, please take the virtual stage, please.
Great, thank you very much. I just want to say that I'm really appreciative to be speaking with you all this evening and to have this conversation over such an important issue. As stated in my proposal, this dialogue is just the beginning, and I look forward to where this takes us as a community. I hope that this can be sustained and honoured through both the Council's words and actions. I would like to thank all those who replied to my email and gave me a personal response to the questions that I raised about the Council's anti-racism actions. I'd like to take this moment to state that there is by no means a personal attack, rather, as I addressed in my proposals, a means of self-reflecting what has been done and what needs to be done as a collective. I would also like to raise the point that whilst having a racially diverse group of friends or family is great and does help on some levels with racial understanding of racial issues, it does not mean that we understand completely of what it's like to be a person of colour. We can't use the people in our lives to justify our actions, only ourselves are responsible for that. It's not about how diverse your friendship group is, it is about what you're doing in your position of influence, to do the right thing and to be actively anti-racist. What I'd like to make clear to the Council is that I'm not trying to speak on behalf of people of colour. I cannot speak about experiences that I have not had. I am only here using my white privilege to stand in solidarity and to encourage the process and strategies for meaningful change. And of course, racial justice. I make this point in the knowledge that there is only so much that I as a white person can articulate about not only the day-to-day experiences of Black and Brown people within this country and within this community, but also the suggestions in which to resolve this matter. I'm here to encourage the Council to open this conversation up in a way that represents, in a way so much better that I can, and a way that I can articulate this. The Council needs to review its internal policies, but also the way in which the Council externally acts in Haywards Heath. The ways in which Haywards Heath Town Council involves itself within the community to create a more homogenous and inclusive area to live in. The proposals I have suggested in the document highlight ways in which the Council can build upon this conversation in a cost-effective manner to encourage Haywards Heath into becoming an actively anti-racist town. The Council utilising social media and town days was suggested by Councillor Langley, and I believe this is a fantastic way of celebrating different cultures and commemorating important events. It engages the community and the Council to learn about events like Black History Month and cultural events such as Diwali and Hanukkah. It can be a way in which we can collectively break down stereotypes and ignorances about these topics. It opens up the conversation about difficult issues, and it's a way of promoting tolerance within our community by celebrating our differences. Using social media is another aspect of that, but also gives the Council the opportunity to share and have access to anti-racism resources. Much like other councils do here in the UK, simple messages on social media to celebrate and also to stand in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and anti-racism action. I also cited the Royal Borough of Greenwich and their actions. I respect that the Town Council has different budgets and powers to do that of a London Council, yet I still urge the Council to look into Greenwich's schemes and to take inspiration from those ideas and to create them into a format that works for the Council and the community. Much like leveraging social media and town days, this is a way we can involve the community as part of this narrative. The 10-point plan of action to fight racism on a municipal level in Europe by the International Coalition of Inclusive and Sustainable Cities, UNESCO, and European Coalition of Cities Against Racism is what I believe to be the most concrete. I've included a document in its entirety, despite it not all being relevant for the powers of Haywards Heath Town Council. I want to show that there are solutions to these issues. By having access to the document in its entirety, the Council can review the 10-point plan and collectively decide which points are under the Council's jurisdiction. Much like my reference to the works of the Royal Borough of Greenwich, I believe that the council can take inspiration from the ideas shared in a template plan and adapt them to create a sustainable anti-racist policy for Haywards Heath. It should be mentioned as well that the UNESCO European Coalition of Cities Against Racism has been quoted to being created out of insight that discrimination starts locally, so must be tackled locally. Lastly, I raised a point about councillors who are part of Mid-Sussex County Council to take what's been raised and share this with respective councils. This narrative is great, and I'm really happy that we're having this conversation, but it needs to be shared, and this evening needs to be continuous for it to be meaningful, and it needs to be communicated amongst colleagues. Mid-Sussex has more access of ways to make change within the communities, such as like through schools. I'm happy to go into more detail with councillors who are part of the County Council about what I mean by this. Once again, thank you for letting me speak, and I hope this will be a continuing discussion and process to make the change that's much needed in our community. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for your presentation and thoughts on this very important issue. I hope you've been able to build up a picture in response to your first email as to our views and thoughts as individuals on anti-racism, and I would like to commend you for challenging us. So Haywards Heath Town Council stands united against every form of discrimination, racism and injustice. The killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis has reminded us once again that we cannot and should not tolerate racism in any form or from any person. Furthermore, Haywards Heath Town Council is committed to the promotion of equality of opportunity and equality of treatment. It aims to ensure that in its recruitment, employment, business practice and service delivery, no employee or member of the public will be treated less favourably than any other on the grounds of gender, marital status, domestic circumstances, race, nationality, ethnic origin, colour, religion, creed, politics, age, disability, sexual orientation, or is disadvantaged by conditions or requirements without justifiable cause. Now, with the context of the Town Council, the way I see your question to us regarding our actions at this moment is at 3 levels. So the first level is at an individual's level. As I've alluded to earlier, I hope you now have an idea of where we are as a group of individuals when it comes to our thoughts regarding the anti-racism. Second level is looking at the internal perspective of the Town Council policies and training. In the Town Council, we have equal opportunity and equality and diversity policies that are reviewed every year. We will undertake, and I'll lead on it, a review and update these policies, and also review and upgrade, where necessary, the training of our employees and councillors with respect to diversity and inclusion and racism. On the third level is the Haywards Heath Town Council external face. As a proactive Town Council, I'm keen to engage our community groups when it comes to the issues within our town. It is vital for young people to learn about their own history, regardless of race and background, and they should have access to truthful, non-discriminative education. The need to improve and broaden education and tolerance for all children around these subjects is crucial and will play a vital role in helping us dismantle any systemic racism in our broader society. But I hasten to add that education provision is not the remit of this level of local council. Our MP has raised this with the Secretary of State for Education recently, and we wait to hear any news on this issue in the coming months ahead. Education and development should be a continual aspiration for all of us. And with this in mind, I would like to propose the setting up of a community conversation forum. This will be a platform for invited community leaders, individuals and groups to come together and discuss issues that affect our town. My aspiration would be for those attendees to engage and return to their groups with new ideas and thoughts that would lead to a wider level of engagement and understanding. I would lead on this strategy and aim for the first meeting to be set up for September, with a title very much geared around the discussion we are now having. I hope this meets with your agreement. Emily. With regard to your paper, I wanted to pick up a few points. I too believe in open dialogue and discussion with all issues within our councils and public. And I too agree with your sentiments as a white person of not having faced discrimination, not having to face discrimination because of the colour of my skin, which is why this is a real opportunity to reflect on our thoughts and the interventions the Town Council could make with regard to racism. Now, going back to your first point, with regards social media presence and the website in your paper. So I totally agree with your thoughts. And we have a new website, and we will review our postings and discuss this further. Okay, so as far as town days to promote inclusivity, anti-discrimination and cultural diversity, again, I agree. There is a established committee that discusses events, and we've already been discussing, or there's been thoughts around food and culture elements of the Spring Festival. So I feel we're sort of, your thoughts and our thoughts are sort of fairly closely aligned at this point. So third point, inclusive community schemes and cultural celebration learnings. I've had a chat with the chair of our Environmental and General Purposes Committee to have a look into this in a bit more detail and see what we can, see, you know, as you said, this is an ongoing dialogue, and so we must discuss this further. Okay, I'll be discussing this with you afterwards. Number 4, Haywards Heath to encourage local libraries is around the publications that they have in their collections. So this really needs you to discuss with West Sussex County Council directly. It's not really our remit, and we can't really start to ask those sort of things directly with other elements of the council. If that's okay. With number 5, the 10-point plan of action to fight racism on a municipal level. So as you alluded to in your presentation, I think you get my caveat. The caveat is resources, okay? And I think we can, at the town council level, we can discuss this and see where we can go with elements of it. But I think it's a very, very wide-ranging document, and so there are bits and pieces that I think we can work with, and hopefully talk. You know, your 6th point around twin-hatted MSDC West Sussex County councillors adopting it. I again, and this council can't really, you know, we can't speak for those councillors respectfully. But I think there is, you know, we have some of them here now. So if they, you know, this could be a good platform for them to read it and see what they think, okay? So as a final summing up, returning to your initial question, what can we do at this pivotal moment in history? There is still a lot we can do, I think. Training, reviewing policy. I'll set up this community conversation, and I would potentially invite you to be involved in that for the first one. And yes, I want to continue this conversation. I think it's very, very important what we're discussing here for the future, looking into the future. So I think that's me done. I'm looking at 7:48. Okay, we've got a few minutes left. Okay. So for some thoughts, do you have any thoughts, first of all, Emily?
And I
think you have a question. You can ask me a question about what I've just said if you want.
No, I'm fully on board with what you said. I totally understand that the libraries are out of the powers of the Haywards Heath Town Council, and in terms of West Sussex, Mid Sussex councillors, then obviously that is part of both councillors to take that upon themselves from this meeting to carry that on. But yeah, I see it as a positive start to suggestions that I do think will have a big impact within the local community. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Langley, I know you've had discussions, earlier discussions with Emily. Have you got any comments?
I'd just like to say I thought it was a really well put together statement, and there was a lot of research in there, and it definitely prepares the council well to consider all these matters. So thank you very much for your time doing that.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to just throw it open to the rest of the council. Just be aware we have got a lot of work to do in the next couple of hours, but for a few minutes, have we got
Councillor Band?
Councillor Band?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I just really would like to actually offer my personal thanks to Emily for stepping forward to actually challenge us. We need more people in our community that care for the people around them, which is to an extent why we all stepped up to actually become council in the first place. Sometimes it can be really hard work, and potentially if we're actually starting to actually see more people interested in some things, then potentially they may well actually spread that diversity in terms of other interests as well, and it would be a fantastic development if we can get some more fresh blood into the council in future years. And again, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else? No, I think we're there. Are we?
Yeah, no further questions.
Okay, who's next?
Nobody.
No questions.
No more questions.
Okay. Right. In that case, thank you very much for your attendance and contribution, Emily. Really interesting to hear you and listen to you. And well, I'll be in contact because I think it'd be good to continue this conversation, see where we can go with it. And if you want to leave this meeting now, as I said, we've got an 18-point agenda to start now. So if you'd like to be, by all means do. Okay.
If there's anything else about equality policies, but if not, then I'll leave.
Okay, fine, no problem. Well, thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, right. Okay, on with the rest of the meeting. Right, I've got to do a roll call for everyone. I think you're all here, but I'd better just check. Christopher Ash-Edwards.
Present.
Richard Bates.
Present.
It's like school. Claire Cheney.
Present.
Rachel Cromie. No. Sandy Ellis.
Present.
Thank you. Christopher Evans.
Present.
Stephanie Inglesfield.
Present.
Councillor Matthew Jeffers.
Present.
James Knight.
Present.
Clive LeBand.
Present.
Jack Langley.
Present.
Howard Munden.
Present.
Richard Nicholson.
Present.
Mike Pulfer.
Present.
Sujan Wickramarchi.
Present.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Right. If we could bow our heads, please, and I'll now read the Town Council prayer. Dear God, please help and guide us in our deliberations on the matters before us this evening to make sound decisions whilst being respectful to others through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. I fully forgot to welcome everyone to the Town Council, full Town Council meeting on the 20th of July, and I'll do that now, and then we'll go on to 2. So my apologies for getting the order slightly wrong. Right, 2, to note any apologies for absence, Steve.
Councillor Rachel Cromie, because of family commitments.
Okay, public forum, we don't have anybody in the public forum. To confirm the minutes of the annual meeting of the council held on the 11th of May 2020. All agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
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 Is that, shall I do?
Agreed.
Have a show of hands, please.
Show of hands, please.
Agreed.
I think that's unanimous. Item 5, to dispose of any business outstanding from the last meeting. There is none. Right, I'll go on to my bit. Item 6, to note the mayoral engagement and any resolutions. So we were sadly informed by Councillor Ellis on the 16th of June of the passing of Claudette Firminger, who was a town councillor from 2009 to 2011. Councillor Bates and Councillor Ash Edwards will have served with her, I believe. She had been ill for many years, and we had a link as a council to her family, as they had an allotment. We've sent condolences to her family, but I thought you should all know about that tragic circumstance. Now, to continue, since the last meeting, obviously we're still working with on the emergency food hub, which is now obviously based at the town hall. Food stock levels are relatively high now, as we await more need, in inverted commas, later on in the year, once the furlough is reduced. So I imagine, we hope this isn't going to happen, but we do think, obviously, everyone reads the newspapers and everything, and there could be an issue further on in the year, and we do have good food stock. So that's well, that's good to a degree. So also Councillor Knight's mayoral charity was a Dame Verlin children's charity. We made a donation to the charity and received a real heartfelt response from Pilar, the manager there. So I thought you should know about that. I've also uploaded over the last few months some more blogs onto Twitter, and Maria's doing a fantastic job with all of that and the other PR element. And also we've worked with, or we've been working with Haywards Heath Business Association and set up a campaign, Shop Local and Support Local Business, which is, I think is still early days, but hopefully that's going to be a real success. I'm sure all of you have by now been on the new website that's looking good. And also I'd like to continue with thanks for the staff who are working really, really well, still at home. Beginning of August, I hope they're coming back. Steve has been setting up policies, etc., which we'll come on to. And last but not, so thank you to them, and also thank you to the clerk for all his work, his everyday work, and also Andrew. The circumstances are incredibly challenging for all of us, and they're doing a fantastic job. And I've been out and about once. With regards mayoral visits, and I went to Specsavers with full PPE, so it was good to see everybody there, see a few of the customers, and spent an hour there seeing how they're now coping with the new norm, as it were. So that's my report there.
Councillor McPherson, can I just say, Councillor Ash Edwards has had his hand up a couple of times. I just wonder if that was something he'd like to add to the conversation.
Absolutely. Councillor Ash Edwards, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to point out that we haven't asked anyone if they've got any declarations of interest, which presumably we should have done.
And it's omitted from the agenda sheet, so it's a very good point. So yes, we'll need to. Yeah, that's my fault. That's my fault, Al.
Are there any declarations of interest?
Yes.
On any of the items? Anyone? Okay. No. Thank you very much for the flag, Councillor Ash Edwards. Right. Item 7, to receive and consider and adopt the resolutions of the following committees.
Mayor, can I interrupt on a point of order? I think that perhaps I should actually declare an interest, as should other district councillors, that item 14 deals with the master plan, something which none of us know anything about, but it is actually a Mid-Sussex master plan.
Sorry, can I just, I think I've got this right, Clark, but it's a master plan for Victoria Park. Or, so you're thinking about the Hayward?
Sorry, yes, it's all right. I was misreading it. I do beg your pardon, sorry.
Okay. Okay, Clark?
Fine.
Okay, back to item 7, please. Councillor Laband, Planning Committee, to receive and consider and adopt the resolutions of your planning committees, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, to receive, for the Planning Committee to receive and adopt the resolution for the following meetings. For the meeting held on the 26th of May, minutes 1 to 8, 9 to 16 on the 15th of June, and 17 to 24 on the 6th of July. Are they agreed, please?
I need a seconder, please.
I will second those, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Please note that there was nothing to report on those apart from the comments made by the Planning Committee.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you just respond, Councillor Laband?
That's fine. It's all in order.
It's all in order. Okay, great.
Absolutely. So just to propose that they are agreed.
Okay. Moving on to environmental and general purposes, Councillor Jeffers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I propose that we move and adopt minutes 1 to 9 from the Environment and General Purpose Committee held on the 22nd of June. Please, may I have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second those minutes from the ENGP. Thank you.
In normal process, members would call agreement to each of the resolutions, which I shall now read out by number. What I shall do is pause between each resolution, just so that any councillor wants to make comment, they can do. Otherwise, we'll have to all unmute and there will be a lot of noise. So for good order, I will go through one by one and I will pause for a blue hand to appear. So we'll go to minutes 5, A and B. Minute 6, A, B, C, and D.
Great.
Minute 7, A, B, and C. And minute 8, A, B, and C. So any comments on those? We'll welcome them now. If not, Councillor first, you can move on to the Policy and Finance meeting.
Okay, we're okay there, fine. And lastly, Councillor Knight, Policy and Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to propose we adopt the minutes 1 to 11 of the Policy and Finance Committee on the 29th of June. Do I have a seconder, please?
Thank you. I would like to second that, please.
Thank you. Minute 5.
Agreed.
Minute 6. Minute 7, A, B, and C. Minute 8. Minute 9. Minute 10. That is the minutes of that meeting.
Thank you. Item 8 now, to consider and review the Town Council's Equality and Diversity Policy and Equal Opportunities Statement.
Thank you. As members are aware, obviously we just had the presentation from Ms. Carr, and that brought up a timely reminder that these documents should come before you for sign-off. So obviously these are 2 statutory documents that we have on our website, published on our website. They support the nature of our work. They support everything we do on a day-to-day basis. These documents are supported by our internal working in our staff handbook, which relates to obviously the basis of these documents. All staff signed their staff handbooks back in March of last year. We also have our policies in place for employment and monitoring of employment when we go out to job interviews. So these documents here are standard documents which have been used by the council. They're asked to be affirmed, reviewed if members have any comments, and then they will be placed on the website with the date of today's meeting as a starting point for the discussion that Councillor Macpherson and you as the Town Council are going to take forward over the coming months. So I would welcome any comments on those documents, any ideas on those documents. Obviously, it's very easy to adopt documents and carry on with them, but they're there for your consideration. Over to you, Mayor.
Any thoughts?
No current questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so members are asked to review and make comment of the Town Council's Equality and Diversity Strategy and Equal Opportunities Statement and reaffirm their adoption. Are both those policies adopted or re-adopted?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, thank you. Right, item 9, annual governance and accountability return for the year ended 31st of March 2020. Okay, I think, Andrew, we have a guest who's going to be talking to us about this area in our proceedings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So yes, I'm here this evening just to run you through the next 3 items, items 9, 10 and 11. The first of those items, which comes under item 9, is the internal audit report. We have an appointed internal auditor who comes in twice a year to look at the procedures that we follow and also our sort of accounting setup. And part of the year-end process, you know, as has happened in every sort of previous financial year, we have to send what's called an annual governance and accountability return, a completed one, to our external auditors. And part of that return involves a report which has been completed by the internal auditor. So the form you have in front of you there, it lists a number of items that have to be covered, and you'll see that the internal auditor has ticked them all and signed off the internal audit. So that must now be noted and approved to enable us to send that on to the external auditor. So if anyone has any question on that, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? No? Okay, so members are asked to comment upon and adopt the report of the Internal Auditor Report 2019 to 2020.
Agreed.
Is that all adopted? Everyone happy?
Agreed. Agreed.
Thank you. Okay, item 10, annual governance and accountability return for the year ended 31st of March 2020 to receive and consider and approve section 1. Andrew, again.
Thank you very much. So this is this really sort of does what it says on the tin. It's an annual governance statement. So there are a number of statements on that document, which again, we as a town council must look through and review. And obviously the intention is that we comply with all of those requirements. So we tick yes to all of those statements. And again, that has to be sent off to the external auditor as part of the return. So if anyone has any questions on those, obviously if there are any no answers, then we do have to provide an explanation as to why we haven't complied. So obviously the aim is to answer yes to all of them.
So any comments, questions? Okay, so the recommendation for members are asked to consider and approve section 1, annual governance statement 2019-2020. So it can be signed by town mayor, then submitted to Moore Stephens as the town council's external auditor. All agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. And finally on this bit, item 11, Stephen, sorry, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Section 2. This is the figure work for the annual return. So those of you who are on the Policy and Finance Committee or who attended the Policy and Finance Committee on the 29th of June will know that we sort of got part way through this, where we presented the balance sheet and the income and expenditure account. We have to present our accounts in a specific way for the external auditor. So once again, all the boxes in this section 2 have to be completed in a specific way. Our account system will do most of that for us, but obviously we have to check that the numbers all add up and that it is in fact correct. So you'll see 2 columns there. You'll see last year's figures, and then next to those are this year's figures. And again, those have all been checked to make sure that they tally. And again, they have to be signed off and sent off to the external auditor. So if anyone has any questions on those, I'm happy to try and answer those now.
Any questions? Okay, so members are asked to consider and approve section 2, accounting statements 2019-2020, so it can be signed by Town Mayor and submitted to Moore Stephens as a Town Council's external auditor. Is that all agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Right, thank you, Andrew. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Right, on to item 12, to receive and adopt policies and procedures for the safe reopening of the Town Hall in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'd just like to thank the clerk for all his work he's done around this, because this is an absolutely monumental piece of work that he's been involved in, and part of it is this. So thank you very much, Clark.
And also I'd like to convey thanks to the staff, because the staff have been with me every step of the way. Yeah. And the Town Hall is changing as we speak at the moment. Obviously, we are looking to get back to the buzzword of a new normal. And as part of that process, we have gone through an exercise to make sure that the Town Hall is safe for the staff, visitors, hirers, and yourselves. So the documents you got in there are our best stab, and it's been bed borrowed and steeled and pulled together. The staff, we've had 3 staff meetings now to take on all of the ideas and the documents, and all of the staff at the meeting that we had last Wednesday morning before dispatched all agreed to sign up to the documentation that you have in front of you. We are working slowly, and we should be finished by the end of this week to have the Town Hall in a situation where it is ready to reopen. The last part of this piece of work is to work out our capacity levels, which is quite difficult. So what you'll find at the Town Hall is now you have an entrance. We've had boards made with regards to the rules and what happens in the Town Hall. We will be doing track and trace. Anybody not wishing to do track and trace will be asked to leave the building straight away. There'll be a one-way system in place. There will be pinch point give way signs with regards to coming down the stairs, up the stairs, because the one way will be in the front door, through the glass door and down to the back door, out the side door into the car park. Obviously the pinch point there is people coming down the stairs conflicting. There is a hand sanitizer like you find at the hospital at the doorway to every room in the building. They've been placed by the ground staff, and there's a cough screen now up at the front desk with the ability to pass parcels underneath. We are working on a clear desk policy in the main office. The front of the office has been reorganised, and Helen's been moved back down to the far corner of the office where Fatima used to sit. For those of you used to know, Fatima used to sit in the old days, leaving one desk at the front. The rear office where Andrew is placed with Becky and Maria, their seats are far enough apart for social distancing. Every desk will have hand sanitizer, blue towel and spray, and all the pinch points will have sprays like the photocopier. So all those issues are in place. You have seen that we've attached lots of health and safety work and policies with regards to how we work and how we get on. We aim to open on the 3rd of August We have a wedding that's already booked in towards the end of the month. We have a request for AGMs and meetings. We haven't confirmed those. We will write out to all councillors, to all hirers at the end of this week once you guys have signed these documents off. And we're moving forward in that vein, and we will see how we work. Due to holidays and the quiet season during August, we're working on a skeleton staffing, and we are looking at working in 2s and 3s during that period, and then with a look to return to normal as of the 1st of September, in line with advice from the government. Government advice changes so frequently, you are being asked to allow me to change those documents, and if documents are changed, all staff will be written to and have to sign off those changes, because all staff will be signing a waiver to understand that they've read all the documentation produced and they're agreeable to it. The ground staff have already done that because they've been working for the last probably 8 weeks now in 2 bubbles, and they have all signed off their health and safety documents. I had one pre-prescribed question from Councillor Inglesfield with regards to some of the wording in the policy with regard to people being off if family members are caught on track or trace, or they are caught on track and trace. But obviously, I think, Councillor, just for clarification, from an officer point of view, we will give them full pay, because the way we are now, staff can work at home. So the reference to sick pay would be they would be on their full wages working from home during the track and trace period. With the ground staff, that is more problematic, but we have to be lenient in this situation with them. And we have had 2 ground staff have tests since the pandemic has started, and both of those were turned around in 48 hours. The tests, the bubbles that they were working were shut down, the van they were working in was taken off the road. So we have the procedures and policies in place, and we have exercised that work. If a member of staff comes down with COVID-19, the town hall will be closed straight away, and we will do that full incubation period and a full clean of the town hall. We have a company that was recommended to us who's done a spray of the town hall to make it surgically clean. I think that's already gone now, because obviously that people have touched the surfaces. But we've also purchased a spraying machine that's arrived behind me at home here, and we also have temperature monitoring machines as well, which was suggested by Councillor Knight. Thank you very much. We have those, so we have everything we need in place to start moving forward. And where health and safety comes down to me, and we have a problem, the health and safety executive will be at my door. The council needs to take ownership of these kind of documents, as they do the equality and diversity policy, as they do their financial risk assessments. So those documents are in front of you. Again, they are fluid documents which will change as time moves on. And we were looking at cleaning regimes as well. My worry about cleaning regimes is that we have a cleaner on 2 hours per day, and we have a caretaker who's incapacitated at the moment because of an operation which has been held up during the COVID-19 pandemic, obviously, because the appointments have been postponed. And we also have a casual caretaker who I'm talking to at the moment with regards to coming back to the town hall to work for us. So that's the only thing that's outstanding at the moment with regards to our work. And I'll progress that on a daily basis with Josefa and with Steve and with Derek as we move forward. You'll see finally in the report, you've got the GDPR, and that's there for good order. So I will affect our GDPR policies with retention of information. The track and trace and the hirer's letter that you see will be dependent on that. Any hirer not with a track and trace document will be asked to go straight through and out the front door, out the back door. I've also asked for a sinking fund of £10,000 to be put into a budget in discussion with Andrew with regards how we stack up against our cleaning budgets at the moment, because with the spraying materials we'll need for the fogging machine and the hand sanitising machines being ready available and the hand sanitisers to the staff, there are going to be extra costs there. I'm very cognizant of the fact that we are up against it with our budgets this year. We have a £40,000 deficit on our potentially on hirings, and this budget will not be used frivolously. It will be used for what it's needed for, and it will be subject to monthly review, which will be given to the Policy and Finance Committee by Barley meetings, and also members will be informed of the budget as it goes forward. If the £10,000 starts becoming what I would call not financially viable for the town hall to be open, we will need to look at our hiring charges, and our hiring charges are normally held in November for April implementation. I will bring the hiring fees to the Policy and Finance Committee in September to review once we gauge how town hall take-up will take place. For example, the Bridge Club, they sit on a 1 metre square table, 4 of them from different households. I don't know how that would work. Weddings are 30 people allowed, including support staff, and they have to come from 2 families. How we monitor that, I'm not too sure, but we have to take a pragmatic approach to each hire, and we may need to hire rooms out, room 1 and 2 at the charge of room 1 because of the need for the social distancing space as well. East Grinstead Town Council had a wedding on the first day, and I have written to Julie to share her experiences, and we have a 3 Towns meeting on Thursday night, and the COVID-19 way we're working is on that agenda. So on that note, you will see what I presented for you, and I ask for your comments, and hopefully you're signing them off.
So, Councillor Band.
Thank you, Clark. Well, thank you, Chair. Clark, I think you've done a splendid job. It's very, very thorough, and I'm delighted to actually see that so much kind of hard work and effort to actually has produced such outstanding results to keep people safe. Now, can I ask a specific question? I do seem to recall a conversation about thermometers to actually check people's temperature as they leave and enter the building, and also more to the point, staff on a couple of times a day. I can't see anything in that document. And if you can help us out by turning your microphone on, that'd be great. Thank you.
That is a good point, Councillor. I don't think there is a paragraph on the temperature gauging machines. I can happily add that to the paragraph that they are in the document. It was quite late in the idea, very good idea. So yes, thank you. I will add a paragraph into the document for that.
Okay. Any other comments? No. Okay.
Yeah, Councillor Ash Edwards.
Councillor Ash Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just say that I'm not convinced about the thermometer temperature check. I'm chairman of a charity where we are operating similar things, and we have received very specific advice that actually they're not a good thing. We've had medical professionals tell us not a good thing. I think one of the things it gives a sense of false security, because you may not have a temperature in the early stages of getting COVID-19, but also it can catch out people who don't have COVID-19 because they have raised temperatures for other reasons. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ash Edwards. Very good points. The machines will be available and we will use them accordingly. That's a very good point. Okay.
Okay. Any other comments?
Can I just make sure for the record that Councillor Inglesfield is happy with my response to her questions that were sent to me by email today?
Yes, Clark, yes, thank you very much. You have answered my question, and thank you for looking into it, and thank you for all the work you've done on the document. It's great. Thank you.
Okay, so if everyone...
sorry, Mr. Mayor, could I ask Councillor Ash Edwards to put your hand down if you're finished, and Councillor Ellis would like to answer a question.
Councillor Ellis?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask Clark, it's towards the bottom, it's what's been sent out to guests to inform them of what the setup is now. It says there'll be no facilities for making tea or coffee or any cutlery to be used, glass, etc. I presume then there'll be no sort of catering facilities for weddings or parties or tea parties, etc. That will be nothing in the building at all. It would just be for a venue for actually getting married. There won't be any catering on site. It was just something I wanted to confirm when reading that part there. Thank you.
That's fine. Yeah, it's not often that we have any catering on site. Sometimes people bring their own drink, which they're allowed to do for a quick drink afterwards, but we don't often have that. But you are right, Councillor Ellis, there is going to be no catering, tea and coffee and sharing of cups and saucers, even in the office area with the staff who are having their own cutlery. So for the foreseeable future, we will be locking up all of the cupboards in the kitchen and really decommissioning the kitchen. If you didn't have to walk through the kitchen to get to the Jubilee room, I would have shut it. And I will add to all of you as well that the room 3, which is the small room by the fire escape, is not going to be hired out. The Mayor's office is not going to be hired out, and as you're aware, the chamber is full of food, so those rooms won't be used. But yes, Councillor, there'll be no food and drink being made on the premises.
Thank you, Clark.
Thank you, Clark.
Okay, any more questions, comments from anyone?
No further questions asked.
Okay, thank you. We'll go into the recommendations. So members are recommended to A, consider, comment upon, and then adopt the documents presented as Appendix A, return to work policy, B, risk assessment, and C, hire as information form. Is that all agreed?
Agreed.
Yep. B, to note these documents will be subject to change on government advice and practical experience, which will be undertaken by the town clerk. I'll go on to C. C, note that all track and trace personal data will be held for 21 days. This will be reflected by GDPR and data retention policies. And D, allocate £10,000 of funding for unrestricted reserves to allow the town clerk, within his delegated powers and within standing orders and financial regulations, to manage the cleaning and day-to-day management of the town hall. Is that all agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay. Do we have a show of hands? Okay. Thank you very much. Unanimous. Thank you. Right. To receive a report seeking approval for the placement of a memorial bench and tree on Muster Green. The clerk.
As members are aware, town and parish councils routinely allow residents to place plaques or buy benches or some kind of thing for street furniture to recognise loved ones that have passed away. I've been town clerk for nearly 10 years now. This is the first time I've had a request of such, and I had 2 come to me within a week during the lockdown period. Obviously, I said in the report, none of the passings are related to COVID-19, but I've had 2 requests. One from a lady who lives at the end of Butlers Green, north, in the house by the War Memorial, and she used to lend her electric to us and help us out at the Remembrance Sunday, and she's unfortunately passed away. And her husband has written to me, and another lady's come whose young daughter has passed away as well over the lockdown period. Both of the families I've met at a social distance, of course, and we've walked Muster Green, and they've requested a tree to be placed near to the entrance to the lady who passed away from Butlers Green, and a bench to be placed. A tree has been removed from Muster Green, which was taken down by the tree officer because it was dying. So there's a space for a tree to be replanted, rising with our green policies, and also there's an opportunity to place a bench between the flower beds as marked on the map, which is uniformly in line with what we have our benches on the green. And both families are willing to pay the full costs of such. And because Muster Green is a charitable status, is in a conservation area, that I would need to ask for your approval. We won't need planning or that, because obviously the trees are replacement and the benches are in line with what we've had previously. So I'm seeking your authorisation so I can inform the families and they can get on with placing the memorials for their the deceased family members. Any comments?
Thank you, Clark. Any comments? Thoughts?
None raised.
None. Okay, we'll go for a recommendation though. Then members are asked to resolve the placement of tree and a bench on Muster Green on the request of 2 families who wish to commemorate the passing of family members. Is that all agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Can I ask a question, please? if I was slow then off the mark. I was reading the report in it. The family have offered to provide electricity, and are we going to accept that very kind offer?
I mean, they've offered electric in the past to help us charge the PA system at the War Memorial for Remembrance Sunday, but we now use a company who does it for us via an amp. So they don't do it anymore. So they used to in the past.
Okay. Right. So everyone's agreed to that, I think. Thank you, Clark.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Can we go on to item 14, please? To consider Mid Sussex District Council's draft master plan and the list of potential projects for Victoria Park.
Again, members will note that this consultation was flagged up to being out. I wrote to the MSDC officers and Alan Scott, who are their consultants, got in contact with me and extended the deadline for consultation responses. I will need to send this back to Alan Scott tomorrow. Alan Scott, by interest, are a company that we use for our work around Hurst Farm with regards to the cemetery coming forward, so we know them quite well. What you have in front of you is an evolutionary plan. This is not the final plan. This is the plan that is for comments which will formulate their final master plan with regards to Victoria Park and ideas. And you'll see from the plans there that there are changes afoot with regards to the inward looking into the park from South Road. And there are other proposals which are included in the document. And you're looking at the South Road boundary, the park entrances, increased drainage on the pitch, new play equipment, a community hub space, the tennis courts, new floodlighting, a wet meadow, improved cycling and walking ways, more paths and tree planting and naming in the plantation, and small events on the grass bank and new seating. So your comments on this consultation are welcome. If you want to put it in writing to me overnight by end of close of business tomorrow, maybe say 3 o'clock tomorrow, you're more than welcome to. And I'm more than happy to take comments now.
Question from Councillor Bates.
Okay, Councillor Bates.
I don't know about questions, but I'm a ward councillor and I'm also a district councillor. I have responded to the questionnaire very briefly. A long-standing resident of Haywards Heath, I see this as a jewel in the crown for the town. I think the biggest issue here is the mention of this South Road hedge boundary again, and I would say that it would not be accepted by residents if that was to go. I think that, you know, over the years there's been little tweaks and improvements. I do remember playing football there on a muddy pitch, and it's a lot better now. So, you know, we've had little tweaks along the way, you know, with the cafe up there now. It's proposed to make that a bit more expansive. The playground area gets improved. Ironically, I had a resident telling me that they preferred to go to the one in Bolnor where Rocky Lane is, and there's 3 individual play areas connected to each other there. So I'd hope that the district would upgrade the one in the Victoria Park. The tennis courts over the years have improved, and now there's going to be a clubhouse there. The basketball court is now the skate park. It does attract an awful lot of people playing there. In the past, there was a bandstand in the park, but I don't think we'll see that come back. The plantation is another interesting issue because, you know, it's out of sight, out of mind, things go on up there, but I think there's a proposal to try and open that up a bit more, both to give people a bit more surety of going up there, and also that you can get a better view out from plantation over the park, so it's both ways. Yeah, I think that another issue is the potential for putting a cycling across that stretch of the path into Drummond Close. That's mentioned. I mean, I was most interested in the how park run was highlighted in the discussion. It's the junior park run that takes place on Sunday, and the width of the paths could be widened. And I would assume this irrespective of whether it was to do with park run or not, because I think some of the paths could do with a bit of widening because of, you know, people with prams, etc., trying to get past each other. So, you know, I think I've covered probably most of the points. And, you know, I think there will be landscaping and planting, all of that. That will just evolve along the way. So I'll leave it to other people.
Okay.
The other point I would make, and because I think colleague Sujan had mentioned about the CTC, the CTV, I asked the question really how effective that would be about covering the whole park with the district. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Bass. Councillor Labange.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, I apologise actually firstly for not actually having time to have had a look at this matter sooner, and I'm going to have to put some pen to paper. I am actually totally enthusiastic about removing that wretched hedge that borders South Road and opens up the public vista wider. I would like to see some regreening somewhere else to actually replace the loss of that hedge. But more to the point, I'd actually quite like to see some consideration and support for getting in some potable water so that we can actually reduce the use of single-use plastics and fill up water bottles when people are out walking and playing football, etc. And in the same vein, I'm a bit like a stuck record on this one. Well, no, I don't apologise, actually. I'd actually quite like to see a significant power supply put into the park so that when we hold events there, that we're not reliant upon the fairground activities to actually put in the infrastructure to run the event. So I'd like to see more, shall we say, cheaper, less expensive events where we're not actually trying to entice people out with a group of small children to spend 30, 40, 50, 60 pounds on rides, but to actually have a day out when they might want to buy some popcorn and actually enjoy something a bit more at a very simpler, more urbane level as a family. That's probably it. I've said enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
So, Councillor, sorry, Mr. Mayor, you have Councillor Ellis, then Councillor Munden, then Councillor Inglesfield.
Councillor Ellis, please. Your comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I have actually filled in the comments back to Mid Sussex, but I did want to say that I do agree with Councillor Ban. I have asked that we could look at electric points because we're constantly relying on generators on town days, and to have some sort of, you know, cleaner way of, you know, supplying some electricity. I've also asked, because I know it has been in the past, for a Christmas tree, because I know that we wanted to have some sort of symbol just of a tree that could be remembrance, you know, for every type of religion or whoever should want to use it. So I'm very keen for what they're doing. I like the wildflowers, meadows they're suggesting. I like the sustainability planting, and I've actually put it all in, but just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Munden.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Just a question about in the consultation there. Are they have they engaged with the whole range of the disability charities, in the sense that whilst a lot of the increased cycleways and the running paths and realignments are very good for quite able-bodied athletes such as myself, then those perhaps with blindness might look for a sensory garden or something else like that to attract people into the park. I mean, a ramp is one thing, but there are other disabilities that park could lend its to creating specific areas. And I wonder if that, if not already in the consultation, could be made an important part of it. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Councillor Inglesfield.
Thank you. So I am not
Councillor Inglesfield.
Do we know what surface
Can you
is
start
going?
again? Sorry, can you just start again? You just froze.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, great. So I was saying I'm not an athlete like Councillor Munden, so I'm going to ask a naive question. The surface of the pitch, is it going to be grass or concrete or some special surface? The reason why I'm asking is besides the durability of the pitch and its maintenance, but also we hold events there like a town day. Mm-hmm. And I just want to make sure that it won't get damaged on such days.
Okay, there's a couple of questions there. Councillor Mundin, I don't know their list of consultees, but I can ask the question. I know that when we looked at the South Road Tree project, we engaged with Accessibility East Grinstead, who are now the only group within Mid Sussex who deal with that kind of issue. So they would need to be consulted. So we will put in a response that's a very good point. Councillor Inglesfield, the football pitch is prone to flooding, obviously around the goalmouth where it gets churned up. And obviously one of my major considerations and where I have my head in my hands is if it rains the day before town day, that the fairground doesn't sink and we don't churn the whole place up. So they are very good points. The pitch will just be drainage. It'll just be more drainage to take away the risks of what I've just described with regards to the goalmouth area. So there'll be no change to the state of the pitch wall. But we can put both of those points, and if you allow me to, Councillor McPherson, I will just round up the points before we close down this item, so I know what I'm going to scribe tomorrow, and I will circulate it to you all in writing. So I'll defer to more comments from councillors, and then I will just come back and pick up some points that have been raised, which have been very valid.
Okay. Councillor Langley, please.
Yeah, it was just a comment to do with the waste and recycling and so on, and the bins in the park. There's been complaints and issues before, particularly with things like from KFC and things that have been brought up at the council. So if there was some consideration there about how that could be better dealt with, that would be good.
Okay, and anybody else?
Yeah, can I ask Councillor Munden to put your hand down, please? And Councillor Ellis would like to ask a question.
Thank you. It was just in regards to Councillor Munden when we were talking about different groups that may need access. Obviously, we worked on the Parkinson Garden in Beechhurst. It was absolutely beautiful, and it's been used for the benefit of people suffering from Parkinson. I have actually asked that would happen on this one as well. So I totally agree. We need consultations with all community groups.
Thank you. That's great. And anybody else?
No further questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll just add my 2 pennies worth. So I'm very supportive of this investment for Victoria Park. But I'm actually particularly pleased with the suggestion around the South Road boundary and the hedge, because I think opening up the vista from South Road will really enhance the South Road and area, and it'll be I think it's a real positive. So over to the clerk for a roundup.
Obviously, the sensitive issue is around the bush line along South Road. Obviously, I sense a level of support for it, but I do take into account Councillor Bates's comments about it. So I think there should be a general support for it, but with a reservation that obviously this is something that the residents of the town will need to be consulted upon. I've got reference to water supply, power supply, disability charities, sustainable planting, the Christmas trees, the drainage, and the talking to the charities and making sure that's being done, and the football pitch. So I will put those comments into a representation, send that to my contact at Alan Scott tomorrow, and once that I have put that together, I'll circulate it to you all. I see Councillor Langley's waving his hand, so I shall give way to him.
Sorry, yeah, just to make sure that waste management is reconsidered with the new layout as well.
Yeah, sorry, yes, the waste management and the bins and what have you. So yeah, I've got that on here as well. Okay, so
Okay, thank you everyone on that. Okay, item.
Sorry, Councillor, if I do miss anything, please email me, because I know Mark and Scott, and he'll be fine with a last minute addition to my comments, but I think I've got it all covered.
Okay, did everyone get that? Yep. Okay. Item 15, to consider and make response to the Local Government Association Model Member Code of Conduct consultation. Steve.
Yeah, this is quite a difficult one for me. Firstly, I've been involved with the Local Government Association through my clerking position on the National Board and being National Vice Chairman. So I was at the meetings with the LGA as representative of the clerks. So I have had not a predetermined position on it, but I've obviously been party to discussions, and there were councillors present at that meeting from all different political parties from the Government Association. And it's also difficult for me because the fact is this is what we want as clerks, to make sure that all of you councillors behave yourself. And there's 10,000 town and parish councillors in the country, with 24 councillors down to 4 councillors. So there are a lot of people that will be affected by this. And obviously as a clerk, you know, the more sanctions we can get to make sure everybody behaves, and I'm not saying that you guys are going to misbehave, but there may be a councillor in a couple of years' time that may misbehave. And these code of conducts have always been quite a open to challenge situation. And then the Ledbury inquiry, which was when the town council tried to discipline a councillor internally, and you know that's not what we can do, that goes to a monitoring officer. So as clerks, we have been looking at this and saying that statutory training, more ways of disqualification for bad behaviour, and you hear stories from John O'Groats to Land's End of no parish council in Scotland, but you know, you hear lots of stories about how councillors behave. So what NALC have done with the Local Government Association, they've engaged with the Paul Hoey Associates who wrote this document. In January of this year, the Ethical Standards Committee report was given to the Prime Minister. Obviously, global pandemics and Brexit put our pleas and claims to the bottom of the pile. But what you've got in front of you is a new document which is more prescriptive than the one you've got adopted at the moment. The document you have at the moment is adopted by all 3 tiers of local authority in this region. It's not like that across the country, but obviously for the monitoring officer, it's a lot easier to work to 1 document than work to 3. So the document is there for members' consideration. From my point of view as a councillor and from my sector as officers, we discussed it at Sussex level, we discussed it nationally, and obviously we want as many clauses and enclosures in there, and now are lobbying for compulsory training and that kind of work. So it'd be very wrong of me to write a response, because I'll probably write a response personally, and I will be involved in the writing of the response to the Society of Local Council Clerks. So this document is really here for you as councillors to make comment upon, and then there is an online form which I can fill in on your behalf, and I'll make sure that I work with Councillor McPherson to make sure that I don't make too many different changes to the wording. So the document is there in front of you. It's like it was before. You still have the same principles of everyday life, but there is more there about your declarations of interest and that kind of information. But we've got until the 17th of October. You can all reply individually, and there's time to formulate a response. But I wanted to make sure that it came to council, that you had the opportunity to speak on your own destiny, as it were. And on that note, I will defer to your views.
Any comments?
Councillor Laban.
Councillor Laban, sorry.
Thank you, Clerk, for the thank you, Chair. Thank you, Clerk, for the overview. Would it be possible for you to actually supply us that document in a solo PDF version? The reason is that it's actually much easier to read and search by word, whereas at the moment I actually can't search it and interrogate it as well as I would like to. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yep.
Any other comments?
Can I, please?
Councillor Jeffers?
Yeah, I felt a bit silly saying I wanted to ask a question myself. So it's more of a comment on this. I think I wholeheartedly support it, but I do think in terms of feedback and so on, I'm conscious of your deadline, Steve. So I mean, in terms being able to help you to get all this done and put it together once we have made any comments that we might make as individual councillors, would you like to stipulate a date by which you need feedback?
Yep, 10th of, let's go for the 10th of August.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
There are no further questions with people with hands up.
Okay. You've got it. Okay, that's great. Thank you. We'll move on to item 16. To consider making a request for a 20-mile-an-hour zone from Butlers Green Road roundabout to the Birch Hotel roundabout to West Sussex County Council. Clark.
Yes, this report is in front of you because it's been brought to my attention that there is a will to undertake such a project. The way it's looking at the moment, there is a funding pot coming available through the COVID-19 Safer Places Fund, tranche 2 funding, which will be coming forward from the County Council under the lead of the Cabinet Member for Highways with the Task and Finish Group. To put it into perspective, the first round of applications had 245 applications and 7 went forward. And I also would like to remind you all that there obviously is the Atkins report that looks at the town centre, and there is also the Emerging Town Centre Master Plan. So it's a case of members wishing to progress this and whether there's anything that they would like to add, take away to the project with regards to me making such an application, and how you would like to move it forward. And I will defer to members' views. My recommendation has been made on what I've been informed of before this meeting.
Well, the leader has his hand up.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Matters have just moved on marginally, so I'd just like to propose that we change the recommendation to read members to note the aspiration of Haywards Heath Town Council to place a 20-mile-an-hour zone between Butlers Green Road and Birch Hotel, and if appropriate, to apply to West Sussex County Council the second tranche of the COVID-19 Safer Places funding. It's only a marginal reconstruction of the words, and just drawing to everybody's attention too that for some little while now, the 20-mile-an-hour limit has been an aspiration in the Destination Haywards Heath document, and I think that will just bring it a little more in line, and I would hope that members would support that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
On the grounds that there's been a motion tabled to change the recommendation, I would need a seconder to progress that, and if that seconder is forthcoming, then you will be asked to debate the item as Councillor Pulfer has prescribed in his presentation. So I'm looking for a seconder for that, and then we will go from there. Can I have somebody?
I think Councillor Band.
And if we debate, I reserve my right to speak later on the item, please. Thank you.
Can't hear you, Steve.
What's happened here is my recommendation that I put in my report has been taken over by the motion from Councillor Pulfer, which has been seconded by Councillor Band. So you're now debating Councillor Pulfer's suggestion.
You have a question from Councillor Bates.
Councillor Bates.
Yes. Well, it is a question to start with, in as much as where did this wish suddenly appear from? I mean, I think you'd normally expect some sort of strong representation on an issue like this, and I'm a strong advocate of the road being a slower speed in South Road, but I'm just wondering whether we could lose that if it's all the way from Butlers Green up to the hospital. I mean, I dread to think where I live in Franklin Road, if you go too slow, people race past you. That could be a very dangerous situation And I think there's so many other feeder roads coming into it that, you know, people will be racing up from the station up the road. Suddenly they hit a 20-mile-an-hour. I don't think it would, you know, really be working. It'd be a bit like the wearing the mask on the weekend. I don't know if many people will, but they've got to. But will they abide by a speed limit when they just come off of a faster speed limit onto it? I would prefer, and I have been campaigning for roads off of, say, South Road. Haywoods Road is one particular one, where there was some sort of traffic calming in those roads, because you can see if people will be coming along South Road at 20 miles an hour, they're just going to put their foot down to race down Haywoods Road or make it more dangerous. So, you know, I applaud the idea of a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, but I think one would have to really seriously look at the extent of it. And I would also like to see some secondary speed limits in other roads, particularly in my ward because it's Haywoods Road, but there's, you know, many other roads in the town that could have this solution.
Thank you. Councillor Wickramarchi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, can I declare interest on this item? I apologise for not saying so before, as senior advisor to the cabinet member for highways and infrastructure at West Sussex. Secondly, Mr. Mayor, I've had so many residents from Franklin Road on my side, which is Ashton Ground Ward, complain to me about speeding on this road. So I fully support the leader and you, Mr. Mayor, on implementing this 20-mile-an-hour zone on there. And mainly due to the request of the residents as well on my side of the road, in Ashton Ground Ward. The residents have come forward several times, and even a couple of days ago, one of the residents did call me to push me for this. So your thoughts as well, Mr. Mayor, and I fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I welcome the support from Councillor Wickramarchi, because he's absolutely right at the speed that people do travel up Franklin Road, as in fact confirmed by Councillor Bates. And we welcome Councillor Bates' support to this, as he's just mentioned. And just to clarify why the suggestion is that it goes to Butlers Green Road is because of the plethora of age and retirement homes that there are no crossing points for them to get either to the library or to Muster Green or the town. And that being so, I think that it's good that we look after our aging population, and also it's good for the environment. I would hope and recommend it to other members. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Band.
Thank you. I'm assuming that nobody else wants to. I'll speak last if I may.
Okay.
But I'm making certain. If you can just call me back when you're ready.
In that case, you have, I think, Councillor Wickramarchi, did you want to speak again, or have you still got your hand up?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. Just want to say a quick word. I know one of the councillors, Councillor Richard Bates, mentioned about putting in some what do you call humps like in Queen's Road, I presume, but that would be objected by the ambulance service and the fire and the police on because it's one of the main routes there. So I think he implied maybe he can come back and confirm whether he wanted in South Road or Franklin Road speed humps. Thank you.
I'm aware that Councillor Langley, you had your hand up prior to Councillor Bates, but given I think it's on the same subject, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest Councillor Bates, then Councillor Langley.
Okay, if Councillor Bates.
Well, answering my colleague there is that I never mentioned anything about speed humps. I never mentioned anything about it in South Road or any other road. What's other than Haywoods Road which you don't need speed humps in. And in fact, you have got speed humps near the ambulance station down in the town. So that would be for a decision on a study, but there are other ways of having an effective speed controls on roads.
Thank you. Councillor Langley.
Thank you. I'd just urge all the councillors to potentially look at 20's Plenty, a campaign that's existed for a while that talks about the benefits of traffic calming and also the environmental benefits of having long stretches of reduced speed areas and potentially not having other elements such as speed bumps and so on. But there's a lot of good information there for people to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Langley. Before Councillor Band, I'll say a few words. I really endorse the 20 mile an hour that's being proposed, discussed. From a safety perspective in South Road, and also safety perspective, you know, from the whole of the length that we're talking about of road. I also really want to, as we've discussed with Destination Hayward Heath in the past, root out the drivers who are literally going straight through using South Road as a shortcut. They should really be on the relief road. So for those reasons and many of the others that have been said, I really want to see this 20 mile an hour come in as soon as possible. So that's me done. Councillor Band.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I certainly support this amendment. The opportunity to actually be very clear, we're not advocating of a 20 mile an hour limit. We're advocating and supporting, I hope, a 20 mile an hour zone. The two are very different, and the zones are widely acknowledged to be much more effective in lowering speed a little bit than limits themselves, and they don't put so much burden upon the police to enforce, because they don't. If we can actually, if they play any part in improving the local environment, reducing pollution by deterring through traffic commuters from coming through the town, to actually increase cycling for local commuting, to improve the health and well-being, and to basically support and make the place, the town itself, a much better place to live, work, play and visit, we may well improve the economic vitality and make the town itself a lot more sustainable over the longer term. And so I think this is an excellent opportunity. And bearing in mind it is under the COVID banner, hopefully we can get this funded. And if it doesn't work, it gives us an opportunity to actually see whether or not this is something that all the council, the three councils, will want to support on a long-term basis. But if it doesn't work and doesn't produce the benefits that I hope it does, potentially because it's COVID, it's not here permanently. And so that effectively gives us the consultation that we want to see anyway, delivered free of charge. So I'd certainly support this absolutely, completely, in a heartbeat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the clerk wanted to say something.
Yeah.
No, I was just waving my hand around.
Clark, I can't remember. I can remember the word aspirational, but shall I just read this recommendation and we go with that, or
what we can do is, if Councillor Pulford, if you can restate your the wording, and then we can then move to that.
Yes, Mr. Clark, I can most certainly do that. It starts as your document, members, but then to note that the aspiration of Hayward Heath Town Council to place a 20 mile an hour zone between Butlers Green Road and roundabout to Birch Hotel, and if appropriate, to apply to West Sussex County Council for the second tranche of the COVID-19 safer things. So it's just the first few words, members note, and then the aspiration, and then if appropriate. Other than that, it is as your typed proposal.
Okay, is that recommendation agreed?
Mayor, I have to second that, if I may, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that agreed by everyone?
Agreed.
Agreed. Show of hands, please. Yeah. Okay, I think that's everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Right. Okay, item 17, to consider any urgent items the Mayor has received. I have none. There's no exempt business. And so at the time of 9:04, I'll close the full council today meeting. Thank you very much, everyone, for your input today. It's been quite a long meeting.